Welcome to PackReacts. Hello, everybody. How we doing here? I'm your co-host Jeremy, along with our other co-host Mike, who is in the Rogers retreat right now. As you can see here on your screen, he is doing the retreat, and he's also meditating. He's on his 4-day retreat. He's on his 4-day retreat, folks. He's on his 4-day retreat. So we got Mike doing his retreat with Aaron Rodgers, which Aaron Rodgers won't comment on this, but Mike is right next to him in the room. He's in the room right next door to him, so that's him. But on today's episode, we'll be talking about Aaron Jones taking a pay cut for the Green Bay Packers, and we also talk about Aaron Rodgers, as I just mentioned. Mike is on the retreat, folks. He's on the retreat. So while we have that, Mike, how you doing the retreat?
Yeah, I mean, I've been sitting here for about, 12 hours now. I got about another 3.5 days left, and it's good. I haven't gone crazy yet. I've been thinking about my life and just kind of where I'm at. Is there going to be someone younger and better looking that comes and takes my spot in this podcast? I mean, I'm the old guy of the podcast, and Jeremy's much younger than me, so maybe the guy that was doing the GOAT series is going to come and take it. So I've just been thinking, do I stay at the PackReacts podcast, or do I go to the Jet Reacts podcast, or maybe the Raiders Reacts podcast with my old friend Devontae, who actually had a picture with Bruno Mars today. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
Right before I went into the retreat, I saw it, but after that, I don't know what happened. They just somehow got me onto this show. I'm not sure. I just kind of asked my guy Frank over here, who runs the retreat. But yeah, other than that, it's been good. I mean, I'm trying to go to the bathroom. It's kind of tough. I don't know.
What's the food like there?
It's better than the Packers cafeteria. That I'll say. It's definitely better than what Big B got in his episode. And go back to the Big B episode if you want to know what he ate at Green Bay. But it's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I've only had a few meals. I still got another 3 days. But how to join the viewers here in PackReacts?
Well, they appreciate you being on here, Mike, and you always be welcomed. And you're still the co-host of PackReacts, so just letting you know that.
For now, until I decide maybe I'll retire. Maybe I'll just put YouTube
after the first season we actually did PackReacts.
Possibly, I don't know. That's you got to respect the process, Jeremy.
I do respect the process, but it's only been 1 year. Not like Aaron Rodgers, who's been in the league for over 17 years.
You're right. All right, you know what? Fuck this. I'm sorry. Never mind. I'm not doing this. We're done. We're coming back to PackReacts.
Already, Mike.
All right, I'm back.
Yay. Okay, so back to the normal world where Mike thought he was on his retreat when he wasn't. He's got that nice dog photo back there.
Yes.
Tell him about that.
Yes. So my background is pretty bare. So I went to Marshall's over 2 weekends ago, and I just never put it up. But I got the time to put it up. But yeah, it's my famous catch ball run scenario in a painting. Somebody thought about it, There's 5 friends here, 5 dogs. Another dog, that's the coach. Oh man, did
I made a closer view for everybody. Just to make it better.
Can you move it? How did you do that?
I think you have to move your computer a little bit.
Let's see.
Otherwise.
Move my camera. There we go. All right. So the dog is the coach, and there's obviously a football player, but it's not a football play; it's a fetch play. See, these guys are going deep, fetching the ball that way, and these guys are staying and healing. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good pickup at Marshall's, and then there's my one share, making myself a Packers owner. So that's our background for now. It's still a work in progress. We're gonna get better, but 2023 is gonna be a big year for PackReacts. I had my my retreat, and I'm back, and I'm staying. That was my decision. So
that only lasts 12 hours.
Yeah, 4 hours is never gonna actually happen.
I feel like I could do it, like at least 12 hours. I feel like I could pull that off if I really tried. I
Put all
feel
my
like
monitors back on. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems like an interesting thing. Are we zoomed out again?
zoomed out.
Um, it seems like an interesting, thing. I would assume he's in it right now, because he said the end of the week. It's Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, almost. So I would assume he's in it right now. But I don't know. He's an eccentric guy, but it's interesting. I wouldn't do it for 4 days, maybe one day. Like one of those like Mr. Beast episodes. Where like I
Yeah,
was buried for 24 hours. Like,
I could
I don't
never
know.
do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. That's crazy. But I don't know. The darkness thing is interesting a little bit, but
I feel like I could
uh,
do darkness. I
yeah, I
feel
don't know
like
about 4 days. One day
I don't
maybe.
know. I don't know. I feel like I could do it if I really try, but probably just last like 2 days.
Yeah, but wanted to start the show off with a little bit of humor. It's not a ton going on, so maybe some people appreciated that. If not, sorry. I mean, you
All
don't get
right.
to see my face, so that's probably better off.
All right. Well, as we go into this off season where we're making moves, what is your reaction to the Aaron Jones pay cuts?
Yeah, I wanted to pull up before I came up with the idea to do that intro. I wanted to pull up the Ken Ingalls post where it kind of
It was
broke
a
it
lot
down, but he
thing.
took about a $5 million pay cut.
Yes.
I don't think anyone in his right mind thought that Aaron Jones was worth $16 million a year, which is what he was slated to get. But I mean, people forget that was kind of a void year
Yes.
when the deal was first structured. So no one actually expected him to get $16 million a year, and they probably said like, "Hey, like we're doing this for the cap reasons, and like when you get to 2023, there's no way we're ever going to pay you $16 million. So if you want to stay on the team, you're going to have to take a pay cut." And he probably knew that up front, that I'm not really making $16 million that year. It's going to have to be restructured, or I'm going to have to find another team. So I don't know if he's really taking a pay cut. In theory, he's taking a pay cut, but again, like they could have just cut him and saved on the cap essentially. So I really think that was probably part of the deal when they first signed it. That there was no way he was ever going to get paid that amount, because I mean, I'm sorry, there's no running back in the league that's worth $16 million a year. It's just not that type of position that you can use that kind of cap space and that kind of money for one player. I love Aaron Jones, and I was really happy when he got re-signed 2 years ago. Am I as happy now? I mean, I am for the person, because I really do like Aaron Jones and I do like him being on the team. I don't know how he fits into this team if it's a rebuilding mode, but if the Packers have any success this year with Jordan Love, I think Aaron Jones definitely is going to help that out. So you save $5 million. Again, I don't know if it's really savings, because I don't think that's ever going to happen in the first place, but you do save the $5 million in theory. So I'll take it, I guess. Again, I have nothing wrong with Aaron Jones. I like him a lot, so I'm happy that he's saying that. Just as a fan, as a
Mhm.
business move, and with the cap space and rebuilding and where I think this team needs to go long term, I don't think it helps or hurts. I think it's just kind
No,
of
just give
a
it.
continuous at that position,
Mhm.
which I think is important. So overall, I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it's effectively a 2-year deal. I think the
Yeah.
salary cap hit this year is 8 million. You got to pay him $11 million even. Next year they'll pay him $12 million. So I mean, I think that's both reasonable. But the problem is next year uh, is $17.7 million of a cap hit, which is never going to happen. So it's
No.
really a 1-year deal, I think, in actuality.
Yes.
And they're paying what? So they're paying the signing bonuses.
It was. Hold up. I just saw it on my thing. It was uh 8.52 million sign bonus. 8.52.
Right. So I'm just trying to think what the dead cap is going to be next year. Just looking at these numbers. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure where I get that from, because The signing bonus from 2021 is remaining at the 3.25 million cap hit over the next 2 years. So that's staying the same. I just don't see where the
The 8 point.
signing in this post. So.
I see it from Adam Schefter. He tweeted said like an 8.52 signing bonus for the 2023 season that includes it.
Sorry. So this is his old cap hit. I don't think they have the numbers yet, so he hadn't put up a post for the new one. But if you pay $8.2 million in signing bonus over 2 years, it's gonna be $4 million a year. So I'm assuming it's probably gonna be a 1 year deal. I mean, I just don't know how much they could keep Aaron Jones on the team at his salary without restructuring it every year. So I don't know. I think it's probably a 1 year kind of thing. See where we're at next year again. But I am happy for Aaron Jones being back. So I'm not mad at all. I really like the person, really like the player. I just think this team needs to get young. And I think Aaron Jones being out is going to help them in the immediate, but do we need help in the immediate? Or do we need to go all in and redo and blow up this team? I don't know. I think we kind of have to go the latter, but I'm not against it by any means. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just looking at it like it's a great move for the Packers, and it still leaves me into the middle of the river where we've discussed on the show before, where you either choose to go all in or you choose to rebuild. And this is basically a no move of like indicators. Like we're still where we are. We didn't make the decision yet because we have to wait till Aaron Rodgers if he's going to play or not, and then if he wants to come back, we have to see what Brian Gutekunst and Mike Murphy say about the team, whether he's going to get traded or not. And that's the question. We have no idea, and we'll have to wait for this offseason.
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely it's another in the middle move, which is what is my apprehension about it. But they did get a pay cut. They're not paying him the full amount, which was never going to happen, and it shouldn't have happened. And if it did happen, that would have been a real big problem. So that's good. But yeah, the news article came out today from Bob McGinn, or he was on a podcast or something. And I don't know, Bob McGinn, I think he's probably a little bit of a clickbait
that's
reporter. So who knows how much validity there is in it. But I mean, I probably think that he's been around the team for a while. He probably has some good sources. I think the team is going to move on for Rodgers. I really think they are. I mean, I think that they should know that they should have probably done it last year, and they're kind of on borrowed time at this point. And there's really no other step here other than moving on from him. So if that's the case, then where does Aaron Jones fit into the equation on this team next year? And you could say, well, you need a veteran presence in the offensive room, and I think there's some validity to that. Because you probably lose Randall Cobb. You, in theory, probably could lose Mercedes Lewis. Who knows? You could lose Bakhtiari, and now you really have no veteran presence whatsoever. And Jones is a great veteran presence in terms of just his positivity and his kindness and care for other people and other players on the team. I really think that he's a great locker room presence and just a great person in general. And I do think that brings a lot of value, but at a price, right? And how much are we willing to pay for that? Is $11 million a year the right cost for that return? And I mean, he's going to be very, great on the field too. Like he's going to have a great outlook on the field and be probably just pick up where he left this year, where he played really well this year. But running backs are not going to win you Super Bowl, and if we're not getting closer to the Super Bowl, what are we doing? So, but yeah, no, I'm happy about it personally, because I do like Aaron Jones a lot. He's probably, if Rodgers is gone, probably my favorite player on the team, just historically. It was Rodgers and Devontae. Assuming obviously Devontae's gone, assuming Rodgers is gone next year, it'll probably be Aaron Jones for sure. So from that aspect, like I said, really happy. But from the aspect of Packers first, I think we're in the middle again.
Yep, I think so too. I mean, Talk about the voided contracts. We have Monday. It's gonna be a big day for the Green Bay Packers because they have to determine whether they're gonna extend the guys, cut them, release them, what they can do. And some of those players are Adrian Amos. You have Robert Tanyan. You got Randall Cobb, Mason Crosby, Reed, and Mercedes Lewis, and Dean Lowry.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lowry's gone. I think Crosby's gone. I don't see how you can bring Crosby back at
He
all.
doesn't have the leg,
He
especially
doesn't have the leg. Yeah.
when you see him like do kickoffs, and my dad complains every game. Like he can't hit like the touchback. He can't get touchbacks anymore.
Right. No, I think I love Crosby, but I think he's done.
I do. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Mercedes Lewis follows Rogers out if that's the case.
Yeah.
He probably just retires.
Mm-hmm.
And then who else? Tanyan.
Tanyan.
Tanyan really had a regressive year, I think. He wasn't hurt this year, and he was really non-existent for most of the year, which was very disappointing for me because, he got hurt last year with the ACL, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the year before that, he was looking good. We thought that this guy could be the next George Kittle in some aspects. And the time where George Kittle was kind of falling off a little bit. But this year, he was really non-existent whatsoever. And, the Packers definitely missed having a reliable tight end over the middle that they could go and, have look at the difference Travis Kelce makes in Kansas City. Look at the difference that Mark Andrews makes in Baltimore. Look at the difference Kittle makes in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
The Vikings picked up
DJ
Hawkinson, and he was playing well. Packers never really had that guy since Jermichael Finley got hurt. That was the last time we had that kind of presence over the middle.
Yeah.
And, Tanyan played well 2-3 years ago, but I don't think he's the answer either. So I think they're probably going to look to the draft for that position. I think there's some good guys coming out of the draft.
Yes.
But, I don't think Mercedes Lewis is ever going to be that guy. I mean, I know for sure he's not going to be that guy. He's obviously a great blocking tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Almost an extension of the offensive line. But I also think he's one of those Rodgers guys that he's kind of only here because of Rodgers. And if he thinks this team's going to be rebuilt, what does he have? He's already made his money.
Yeah.
If he doesn't think this team has a chance at the Super Bowl, maybe he doesn't retire, but maybe he follows Rodgers, or maybe he goes to another team that thinks he has a chance at the Super Bowl. Why stay on a team that's not going to win this year? To me, that doesn't make much sense. I know he is a team player first, so maybe he will. But to me, I would just think that, he's out if Rodgers is out.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to get your thoughts on Adrian Amos. He's coming off a down year, but he's been solid for the Packers. I do think this kind of determines where the Packers go if they're drafting the first round. If they sign him, I think the Packers aren't going to draft safety the first round. That's my take.
Yeah. I'd probably let him walk. And I hate to say that, but I thought he played really well, and I wanted him that free agent year. He was actually the only free agent I've ever been right about. I saw it. I looked into him before, and I said, hey, he would be good on the Packers, and they ended up signing him. So I was like, wow, I was right about that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really didn't like the way he played last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was disappointing, really disappointing because, he played really well since coming over from the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that if he's going to command a lot of money in the open market and this Packers team is probably going to rebuild anyway, I would just kind of say he's a free agent. He's unrestricted. Or you say that they have to.
So they basically, if they give him, they have to determine if they're going to give him the extension or not. If he doesn't get the extension, he's basically going to get cut.
As in, he has a bonus coming up, and if they don't restructure him, that they're going to have to cut him, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if they, I don't know. Unless if he's willing to take a pay cut, and he's not a free agent, right? So you can't just let him walk. So you have to cut him. And then obviously it's going to be a cap hit from that, right? Because there's dead cap. If he was free agent, there's no dead cap because his contract would expire. So you can't have dead cap from that. But so, I mean, if there's dead cap and you can restructure and bring him down or whatever, that makes sense. Just like I think the Aaron Jones thing made sense because they restructured it.
Mm-hmm.
although it is probably another in the middle move. And if you're trying to really blow things up and start again, it depends on how big of a reload. Is it a reload or a rebuild?
Yeah.
I personally think this team needs to be rebuilt. But maybe the Packers feel differently and think that they have a few young pieces with Watson, Dubs, Gary, Alexander, Wyatt, Walker, and I think they have enough that with Love, if he's ready, in theory, Love is not a young player, right? He's been around the league for 4 years now. He hasn't got much playing time, but he's been in practice. He's seen the games. Like he's not really a rookie. I mean, he's definitely not a rookie. He's really a fourth-year player, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, take off a year or two for not playing, so he's really like a sophomore year player. But he's got the experience from just being around. So maybe they think he comes in and is ready to go, and this team doesn't need a whole rebuild. I don't know. It's one of those things we don't know what Love is capable of, and it's really the big wild card here.
Yes, absolutely. With Adrian Amos, his cap hit it would be $8 million.
Dead cap hit?
For a cap hit / void. That's what I got on Spotrac on the Packers.
Right.
Which is a 3.51% of the cap. Compared to Aaron Rodgers, who's about 14%. So yeah, got that there.
All right.
So yeah, but luckily the Packers kind of get help with the NFL because the NFL is giving more money and more cap space to teams, so they don't be a bunch of bankruptcy teams. So it gives the Packers an advantage a little bit, but it's not going to help them out that much. It does free up some cap space because of the COVID year, where everybody was limited in the fans and everything. So the NFL is helping the cap space more with the NFL teams.
Yeah, they raised the cap this year pretty substantially, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but so Amos has an $8 million dead cap if they release him. That's not. Yeah, right. Everything is dead. Wait, I'm still confused. It seems like the whole contract is dead money.
I guess, yeah. That's where I'm guessing. It's because that's where I think you're determining if you don't extend him. That's what you're going to do if you have to release him, and that's where you're going to get. That's what the cap it's going to be if you release him.
I think it's a void year.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? What exactly? I know what a void year is, but what is he going to get paid?
That I don't know because basically they have to, because that's they're just making up a new contract basically. They're just making up a whole new thing. So I don't know how much, what would be the case if he gets saved or makes money. I don't know on that.
Let's look this up. Yeah, he has a cap hit of 7.95 and a dead cap value of 7.95. So right now he's not on the team.
I mean, it's pretty much it basically decide this Monday is when it's going to be the decider for the team because they have to deal with those void guys, and if they don't deal with them on Monday, because that's the deadline for the void year contracts, if they don't do them, then those guys are free agents and walking away pretty much.
Yeah, so they have to re-sign him completely. If they don't re-sign him, he's gone.
Yep.
Right, and then they have $8 million of dead cap hits, and I think that dead cap is going to be there regardless.
Yep.
So he's basically a free agent.
Yeah.
Except I think there's a difference is that they could re-sign him before free agency. Which,
yeah.
I mean, any player you could re-sign before free agency, right? As long as he's on your team.
Yes.
So there's really no difference. He's just basically a free agent right now with $8 million cap hit.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's the difference, right? Is with the void year, you have a cap hit, but then if you don't re-sign him, he becomes a free agent.
Yeah.
And with no void year, he's just a free agent, but there's no dead cap.
Yeah.
So it's really if you have dead cap going into free agency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But then why wouldn't you do void years? I mean, I guess because you don't want to have that dead cap at that period of time.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's no downside to do it because the time value of money, you'd rather just max void year everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I did? I started reading the collective bargaining agreement,
Yeah.
and I didn't make it through. I'll be honest, I made it through like 15 pages and then stopped. But I don't think I got to that part. But like, I'm curious. Like, why would you just do this to everybody? Just do max 4 years. I mean, I know the downside again is you're gonna have dead cap in a period when you don't have these players on your team. So it's going to hurt you in the future. But you would think time value of money with the cap going up, that would make sense. And maybe that's what the Packers have been doing. That's why we're kind of in this cap limbo all the time.
That's what I think Russ Ball has been doing.
This probably is what he's been doing. But, I mean, there's probably a downside to that when you get to those end of the years. But then you just do that with other players. You keep, you almost – it's pretty much – as long as you can keep the snowball going, right? It's like a Ponzi scheme. It works until it doesn't work anymore. But I don't think it's going to get out of control either, right? Like the number keeps going up. The cap's going to keep going up unless COVID hits. I think that's the one wrench that could be thrown into this, right? When the cap could go down. Yeah. But assuming everything keeps going up, I think it works, right?
Yeah, because they figured out the NFL is always going to move the cap space up. So we might as well move the contract years later because it's not going to hurt them in the present. Whereas the future, they can afford that because the caps, they're going to basically get more savings from the cap space from the NFL.
Yeah, you save it now, push it into the future, where you'll hopefully have room in the future. And if you don't have room in the future because it goes down, well, I don't know. But you just sign somebody and do more void years at the end and just keep pushing it out.
That's what the Rams did, and they won a Super Bowl because of that.
Yeah, they also traded a lot of draft picks away.
That's it.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think – I say don't bring him back. I really think we start with a clean slate here and see what we can do. Yeah. Let's become the Bears.
Whoa. I don't want to be the Bears. Heck no. I'd rather be the Lions.
The Bears are probably in the best position of any team right now. They got number one draft pick. They don't really need to pick the player with the number one draft pick. They could.
I would disagree with that. I would say the Lions. Because the Lions got 2 first rounders plus – they about to go to the playoffs and most likely going to win the division next year.
Yeah, right.
Players.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like best ability right now to get better and produce next year and have a chance to get to the playoffs next year and make a run at the playoffs, I agree. I think the Lions probably right now are probably the leader of maybe winning this division.
Yeah,
because I think the Vikings are going to regress. I think the Bears will get better, but I think it's also going to be a long-term thing for them. They're going to have to get some draft picks next year and maybe the year after that when they trade up or trade back. And I think the Packers are obviously regressing. So I think the Lions might have a good shot next year to definitely win the NFC North and maybe win a game or two in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to the quarterback at the end of the day, too. Is this year for Goff a fluke? Are they going to get a younger quarterback this year? Maybe let him play next year? I don't know. But I think the Lions are an interesting case study to see kind of if they can improve this year. I really do like the coach. What's his name? Dan Campbell, right?
Yep.
I think he's, very good at getting players to play hard under him.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I do have, since we had the Super Bowl, just like recently, I wanted to get your thoughts on NFL refs. How would you say for the James Bradbury holding, which he definitely held, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, maybe by the letter of the law, it was a hold.
Yeah.
I think it was very minuscule. I don't really think it affected the play all that much.
Exactly.
And to call that in that time, I really thought it was a poor call. Mm-hmm. That stuff happens all the time where, you grab his jersey just a little bit. Kind of what happened in the NFC Championship game, being a Packers fan with Kevin King, right? Like that was a hold. I mean, he just grabbed his jersey. You could see his jersey come back. He's clearly holding him back. So like that's clearly the right call. Like I'm not being a homer there saying that was went against us. Like that was the right call. And Kevin King was not very smart to do that.
No.
But I think this situation, I was rooting for the Kansas City. I had money on them. Not that I wanted because I had other things going on and that didn't happen. So it didn't really affect me all that much. But, I'm not a big Eagles fan, and I think their fan base is pretty poor. So I didn't want them to win. So I'm glad that they lost. It's not I'm not really happy that Kansas City won either. It was just kind of the lesser of two evils.
Yep.
So I was just looking for like I thought the game was really good up to that point. I was
Yeah.
hoping for a good ending, like I think a lot of people were. I also was maybe hoping it went to overtime
That's
because
what I was too.
I wanted to see. I needed a few more catches from Travis Kelce to get some bets hit. That didn't happen. So I was hoping that would go to overtime for that reason mostly, and also I just wanted to see more of the game. I was enjoying it up to that point. I wasn't enjoying the halftime show. I thought that was terrible. We
Thank
could
you.
talk about that after.
Thank you.
But yeah, I thought Rihanna did terrible.
Thank you, because everybody tells me it was fantastic.
I,
Like,
I,
no, it wasn't.
I,
It was mediocre to me.
I don't think she could move because she's pregnant, and obviously that's fine. Congrats for her. Like there's no issue there. The problem is like you have a Super Bowl performance coming up, right? Like it's two things, right? Either get pregnant and give it up to somebody else who can fully do the show, right?
Yeah.
Or just don't get pregnant until after the Super Bowl. I'm not saying not to do that. If that's her personal life, she wants to. But like you committed to put on a show in front of the whole country, right? The whole world. And you're not able to fully do it because of that aspect, which is fine. Like I said, I have no issue with her thing, but I would just prefer they would have given it to like Taylor Swift or somebody else who they were thinking about maybe doing at that time, and maybe at that time she wasn't pregnant. But I think they could have given it to somebody and figured out a better person to do it because she clearly couldn't move. Like she just stood still basically the whole time, and she was lip singing for half of it.
Yep.
I thought it was a pretty poor performance. And, I mean, I think it was a little bit overtly sexual at points too. Like some of the things they were doing was probably not really appropriate for TV, which I don't really care about, but it was just kind of like, it's not interesting. Right. Yeah. And you're doing this, like, this is the one thing you're doing that's a little bit like, not like kosher. Like, I did like how it went up and down those platforms. That was cool. But that was really it. I mean, the platforms were doing the movement more than her. Like the performance was be out there dancing, like jumping around, and she couldn't do any of that. So, like, I think she should have given up the spot. I really do. I think she should have let somebody do it that, could fully put their all into the show.
Yeah, I mean, when I was watching, I was just like, "What the heck am I watching here?" Because it looked like I was watching Super Smash Bros. And like it's like the
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah,
that's where I was like, because I looked at the meme, I'm like, "What the heck am I watching here?" Because that's the only thing of the entertainment was going up and down. The singing was terrible. There was like nothing fun to watch of enjoyment.
Yeah.
And like,
I thought it was terrible. I really thought it was like baseline. That's all.
I was also surprised that there was no other like singers involved, like how you usually have in a Super Bowl, like that.
Right.
Like, you would have Jay-Z or somebody else, and I don't know if I'm correct on this. I think this is like the first time she sang in like 7 years or something because she's been in retirement for a bit.
Well, she was pregnant, right, and she had her kid with A$AP Rocky last year, and then she doesn't tell anybody she's pregnant until after the show, when it was kind of obvious that she was pregnant, because that's what people were saying. Like, she looks kind of pregnant and she's not moving. Like, so then they have to come out and say it then. So it's like almost like they hid it from everybody because they didn't want people saying, like, well, why are you doing this show if you're pregnant? I have no issue with her being pregnant. I want to make that clear. Like, this is not, it's about the fact that you're signed up, right, for a show that every artist, right, if you're a professional artist, would love to do, right? Like, think about the exposure you get for being the Super Bowl halftime performer.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And you took that opportunity away from somebody who could put their all into it and kind of kept it yourself. And now when she signed up for it, she probably wasn't pregnant. But then you say, like, I can't get pregnant until after the show because I signed up for this. This is a big thing. And if you say, well, no, this is my life, I want to do it, that's fine too, right? But then you say, okay, I'm going to give up the show and give it to somebody who can fully put it on. That's my take on it. And I don't think that's too much to ask for. I really don't, because I get it. It's her life. She wants to shot, fine. It's her kids, her family, ultimately good. But she's also kind of putting her, like, what if she would have fell and hurt the baby? Like, like, to me, I wouldn't have done a show like that if I was pregnant, which I can't be, obviously. But, like, I really think that she shouldn't have done that show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I just didn't like the performance. It was just like nothing to me. I mean, for me, like, the halftime show has really not been good. I mean, the last time I can really remember that the halftime show was good, Super Bowl 50 or Lady Gaga, like, that's like the last time I can really remember.
I mean, Bruno Mars did a really good job. I think Bruno Mars has been the most recent one. I'm a big Weeknd fan too, so I like that he did it. I wouldn't say it was the best performance. I like his music though. What?
I liked his one song, what he's obviously known for, but I just did not like
the Blinding Lights.
Yes, I just did not like the dancers and like how he held the camera. It's like a 5-year-old like running around with a camera.
Oh, I thought that was good. What? I thought that was actually really interesting. Like stuff like that. Like that became a meme afterwards.
It did.
What meme came after this? Maybe probably the guy like humping the camera or whatever they were doing over there.
Smash Bros.
I guess maybe you make that your meme, Jeremy. But like nothing came out of that was any memorable. You know, people were talking about last year's. I wasn't a huge fan of last year's too, but at least people were talking about it. What?
I wasn't a huge fan either.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of last year's. I don't know. That's not really that my music, but maybe if you're into that, and you know, I thought they did okay. And there was a lot going on, so it was somewhat interesting. This year's, and I like Rihanna. I have nothing wrong with Rihanna, but it was just very boring. It was very boring. Even though I did think that the platforms was interesting, and they had a nice opportunity to. I would love to see how they set that up, like how that was operating, and like how they set that up with the game going on. I think that's almost more the interesting part than the actual performance. How that was set up.
I might know someone that's because my professor got to go work the Super Bowl, and so did one of my friends. He got to work the Super Bowl, so I could ask them and hear because they're doing a podcast on it, so I have to hear about that. Because they got to work the Super Bowl in the experience, and I don't know like what they actually did in the Super Bowl. I know like they got to work like outside stuff, but
right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I doubt they probably know specifics. Maybe they saw some stuff that we didn't see on TV. But I thought that setup was cool. Like, you know, getting everything, make sure it works, right? Like, because you can't have it during the game. And, like, I don't know how they did that. And I think almost probably the set crew was probably more impressive than the actual performer.
I would agree. Absolutely agree.
Because I thought that was probably one of the more impressive things that was put on at the Super Bowl in terms of just, like, the technicalities. Like, you know, you have people dancing on there. You can't have that fall. And, like, you can't do tests and stuff because you have the Super Bowl going on. So you have to do that in the time between – it starts, and so that was cool. The set production was cool, and however they did that, and I love to read about it. Maybe I'll try to see if there's got to be an article about it.
There probably is.
But I thought it was a very underwhelming performance. I didn't think she danced. I didn't think she ran around and made people excited to be there. I think she was just and she was half singing too. She was lip singing for a lot of it. She didn't seem really all that into it. I'm not a fan, but you know, I think Bruno Mars has been the best one of late. Like I said, I'm a Weeknd fan, so I enjoyed it, but was it the best show ever? Probably not. Justin Timberlake, I was a fan of. I didn't really think he did a great job. I gotta say, I
liked his. I liked.
It was all right. Maybe I have to watch it again. It's been a while since then.
We made a tribute to Prince, also. Remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But Bruno Mars, I remember Bruno Mars. I mean, that was a great one. That was a really good one.
The one where he's at the Giants Stadium, or the one with Beyonce in Super Bowl 50.
Right, because he did like back and forth. No, the one that was just him.
I liked, because he had the Red Hot Chili Peppers in that too.
Yeah, they haven't been bringing anybody out recently. Like Weeknd didn't have anybody. Last year was the people that were supposed to be in it. They didn't bring anybody else out. This year, obviously, it was just Rihanna. I really think they should have brought somebody out, or at least let Taylor Swift. I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan, but you know, I think more people would have been into that than, and it would have kicked off her new tour and all that stuff. That was who they were supposed to do it. I would have been better off with Taylor Swift than Rihanna. I really. What has Rihanna done recently?
Nothing.
Like, I wouldn't even get that. Like, I don't know. I like Rihanna. I have nothing wrong with her. I like some of the songs, but I just didn't think she did that great of a job, and it was boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought so too. I also want to go back to you on the refs. What is a catch? Because there were a bunch of questionable plays that were not a catch and were a catch. I don't know what a catch is. Do we still not know what a catch is since it does?
What play are you
so the Dallas Goedert one I'm talking about, mostly the Devontae Smith one. I thought that wasn't a catch.
Yeah, right. The Devontae Smith one, that was on the sideline, right? But wasn't it not a catch? They called it not a catch?
They ruled it as a catch. They ruled as a catch, but then like after they went review said nope, no catch. Because I argued he didn't maintain full possession because he bobbles it a bit when he's going towards out of bounds. That's where I was.
So The Goddard one. Can we speak about that one? Because I was the only one at the party I went to that was right about that. Actually, everyone was saying, and we'll come back to Devontae Smith. I might have to you might have to remind me exactly that play. But we're on the same page about the Goddard one. Remember?
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about that one first. Because you have to remind me. I think I forgot about that one. So the Goddard one, right? So that's the one where he catches the ball on the sideline, right? Yep. He bobbles it, but then he gets his foot down, just the toe, right? And then the other foot was always a good catch, right? Yep. He caught it, bobbled it, and when he caught it originally, his foot was down. There was no question about it. But people thought he brought his foot up when he bobbled it and caught it again. But if you notice, just his toe was on the ground when he caught it the second time. Yeah. And that's what I was telling people. I was like, hey, guys, I know he bobbled it, but you got to look. Once he catches it again, is his toe on the ground still? And it is, right? And then the other foot, there's no question about it. So the bobble, look for he gets possession again. Look, toe still on the ground. That's a catch. Mm-hmm. And I was right. So that was that. Anything you add on that one? And then remind me of the Devontae Smith one.
I could. So what I kept trying to see the replay review, and I was like trying to see, can they just pause it for a hot second? Because I was trying to see if his toe was on the ground now, because it was kind of hard to see.
Yeah, they should have paused it. You're right. They didn't. Yeah.
I couldn't tell if that's a catch, and I'm like, that looks like a catch. I didn't like at first. I'm like, that doesn't look like a catch because I can't see if his foot's on the ground or not on the toe. And then like when you zoom in closer, when you put your face out the TV, then it looks like a catch to me. So I was like, okay, that has to be a catch. But, yeah. But going to Devontae Smith, this one reminds me of the Dez Bryant one because it's kind of the same exact thing where he's catching it, he has it right towards him, but like when he gets towards out of bounds, he kind of bobbles it, and then when he hits the ground, you see more bobble come out of it. So it's basically the Dez Bryant, I would say, catch. Oh, no catch.
No, I mean Dez Bryant was lunging for the end zone.
Yeah, but it wasn't a catch, so.
I mean, that wasn't a catch. No. I told people at that party. My uncle's a Cowboys fan. They're like, "Oh, we." I said, "No, not a catch."
I'm still told.
Right.
I'm still told.
I mean, that wasn't a catch. Based off the rules, that wasn't a catch. I mean, you could say he caught it. Sure, he did catch it. But the thing was it based off the rules a catch? No. I mean, no one can tell me that based off the rules that was a catch.
See, that's what I've had to deal with for these past couple of years. Is every year somebody will tell me, "Yeah, Dez caught every single year from somebody I know." They will say it. I'm like, no. Just go read the rules.
Did he catch the ball? I mean, clearly he caught the ball. I mean, like, there's no question. The question is it a legal catch in the NFL, right? Like, the ball was in the air, right? It went into his hands and it stopped, right? So, yes, it was a catch, right? But is it a legal catch in the NFL that's going to count? No, right? Because in order for you could catch the ball, right, but you got to remain possession to the ground. And that's not what he did. And if you lunge forward while you're going towards the ground, you got to maintain it. Otherwise, and there's a reason why that exists, right? If you catch the ball and lunge forward while you're going down, that doesn't preclude you from maintaining possession. Because you're saying the only difference, I catch ball, go down, right? I don't make a football move of lunging forward. Right, but I drop it at the end, right? That's not a catch. But if I catch it and then lunge forward and I don't make it to the ground, that should be a catch. Like, why? Like, what's the only difference there? Well, I made in theory, somebody can say, well, you made a football move of lunging forward. But maybe you didn't make a football move. Maybe you were catching somebody hit behind you and like you just went out, right? And it's not really a football move. Somebody hit you, right? So I think it's too subjective to say, is that really a football move? Right. I think with the football moves, you got to catch the ball and move upfield. Right. And if somebody hits you up there, it's a fumble. I think it's pretty clear. If you catch the ball, you have to make it keep possession to the ground. And I think that's a fair rule. And that's the issue here is that, yes, he caught the ball, but he maybe made a football move to the thing, but he's got to maintain possession to the ground because he's going down while he catches the ball. He didn't move his feet forward. That's the problem there, and that's what I think people don't understand is that, and that's what the rule says, and you have to follow the rule there. You can't say, yeah, well, in theory, like he made a football move, but that's not what the rule says. The rule says is we got to follow it. Now you could say, but I just said with the penalty, right? But I think there's a difference between making a call on the field and a penalty, right?
Yes.
Like a penalty, you know how many holding calls aren't called in the game?
You can basically call like a flag
every play. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, so that's the difference is like, the penalty flag requires you to throw it, right? And
There's plenty of plays. To me, in order to call a penalty, there's got to be an impact, right? Like, think about what you're doing. The reason why you're calling a penalty is because something bad happened because you did something illegal, right? Like, if like, think about in basketball, right? The coaches come onto the court, right?
Mhm.
But the play is on the other side, right? So
Yep.
nothing bad can happen. Is that totally legal? Probably not, right? Like, I don't know what the rules of the court. The coach coming onto the court, but no one's going to call, because what are they going to call him for being on the court a little bit and the ball's not even there, right? Same thing with the NFL coaches. They probably come onto the field if they're behind the play, right? Because nothing really bad's going to happen.
No.
But is it against the rules? Yeah, probably. But you're really going to call that, So it's like one of these things where, like, sure, it's against the rules, but a lot of things against the rules, like jaywalking is against the rules, right? But no car's coming. Are you really gonna give me a ticket, officer? Like, the officer sees you jaywalking, but no one's coming. Like, come on, I'm not gonna sit here while no one's coming.
Exactly.
This is the same situation. If you give a penalty, you tug his jersey just a little bit, and it doesn't affect the play, you're really gonna tell me that with 2 minutes left in the Super Bowl, right? It's not a preseason game, it's the Super Bowl. You're going to make that call where, if you make that call, they're going to get a first down, and all they have to do is run out the clock and just kick this easy field goal and win the Super Bowl. I mean, you got to be aware of that. You got to be unaware of what, as a referee, like, there's 2 minutes. Like, if I make a penalty right now,
It's fair of the outcome.
right, it's gonna determine who wins this game.
Exactly.
The referee determined who won the game.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how much power that gives you, right?
That's why I say the NBA refs have the most, they have the most policy. Like, they, out of all the refs in the sports, they have the most to stop the game or control the game.
Like, I maybe this is something that should be put into place, right?
Okay.
In the playoffs, maybe you don't do this in the regular season. In the playoffs, if it's within 2 minutes left in the game, right, all penalties have to be reviewed by the New York, or the guy in the box, for intent, right? There's got to be intent to commit the penalty, and so there's got to be two things. There's got to be a penalty, right? That intent of doing the penalty, an intent to, and an impact, right? So if I held somebody and it didn't affect the play whatsoever, we're not going to call that because it didn't affect the play whatsoever. Exactly. But and you also can't just get away with hurting people, right? Like roughing the passer. If you rough the passer, right, that still's got to get called, right? But a non-physical penalty, I don't think anyone's going to say holding is a physical penalty. Like, oh, you tugged my jersey, right? Like, the reason of the penalty is not to protect anybody from physical altercations and getting hurt, right? It's because I'm going to run by you, right? And all you need to do is grab my jersey to stop. That's not fair, right? That's a fairness penalty, not a protection penalty, right? So protection penalties have to stay. I agree. Fairness penalties have to affect the play. I would love to hear your impact on it. Like this is just something I made up right now, but I think it makes a lot of sense because let's say the holding occurred all the way on the other side of the field, right? Mahomes didn't even look at that side of the field, right?
Yeah.
And they call that. Like, they gave him the first hit. Is it a true penalty? Sure, it's a true penalty. This one probably was a penalty, right? But did it really affect the play? I don't think so. So, I really think that, and you can say that's maybe a slippery slope, and that's why I wouldn't do this all the time. I just do it within the last 2 minutes of a playoff game because you make that call, game over. And everyone knew once they made that call, game over.
Yeah, because like I mentioned before, Kevin King, even though it was the obvious he was holding there when it should be called by that was good, that was good for them. But it's stuff like that when you're in 2 minutes, they're gonna throw the flag. I remember on that exact play, Kenny Clark is getting held and hold of his tug clearly being hold, and nothing gets called in that exact same play, which is where I'm getting annoyed.
That's the frustrating part. I agree.
Exactly. I mean, obviously we can't. Refs can't. Not the refs. The coaches can't challenge in 2 minute warnings. But yes, I definitely agree with you that it should be reviewed. That if it's a penalty or not, if you're gonna make the call, is that a penalty from New York? Is that clear enough? Because as you mentioned before, it's going to basically determine the game. And that's what I was upset about. Yes, it was obviously he was holding it. But did it affect the play is what I look at.
I don't think it did.
Exactly. That's what I look at it. And people tell me well, he still hold him. No, I think it only matters if it affected a play or not. If it didn't, then that should be not called. If it affected the play, then it should be called.
Absolutely. Right.
That's where I'm at with it, because there's so many times where we look at it and we can go to the famous game with the Saints Rams in the NFC Championship game. We all think that's PI, but they didn't call that, and that's late in the game. That should be reviewed. That's where I get very annoyed. Is like, how many times are we going to go through this in the NFL and see where it's obvious that it should not or should have been called, but it's not called, especially late in the game too.
And I think the NFL has the worst situation with this just because of the nature of the game.
Yeah.
So the NFL is a very, baseball, right? Like, you hit the ball, you throw the ball. What's the most, if you hit a home run, there's no question about a home run most of the time, right? Or maybe you hit the wall, and that's what the review is for, but the review should catch that pretty easily. Yep. So the only thing that's really a problem is the balls and strikes in baseball, right? And this has always been a lifelong thing, like, yep. That's outside, really? You're going to call that a strike, or vice versa, right? And now they're thinking about maybe doing, I think the minor leagues are doing this, where they have a computer do the balls and strikes.
I have the interesting thing about that. I got to see it in person. I got to see the whole thing work out with an independent minor league team, and now it's going to the minor league, and then the next year they're going to the major league.
Right, and if it works, me, I think we should automate all this stuff. To people that say that, and I think we said this in the podcast before, but the people that said, we can't automate things because it's going to make people lose jobs. First of all, you still need an umpire, right? So it's not going to lose that job. It's going to take away probably an unnecessary part of their job, right? Because it's human error with that kind of stuff is going to be pretty extensive. And if the computer could do it better and get it right 100% of the time, which is kind of what the computer does, is get things right 100% of the time, wouldn't we all like to take that part of the game out, right? No more bickering about is this a ball or strike? The computer told us it was a ball or strike, and it's right because we have the data behind it. Instead of the guy the guy blinked and he doesn't know, he goes a ball. Think about how much the ball. If you mess up, right? Think about it, I went that quickly, right? I missed that. Oh no, I don't know what happened. What do you do at that point, right? You got to say ball or strike. So I just kind of guessed. I mean, I'm sure that's happened more times than not with some of these bad calls, right? Even with football. So that's baseball, right? Basketball, I guess you could say fouls and stuff. So there's some subjectiveness to that, right?
Yeah, you can't really do anything in basketball because it's either a foul or if it's not a foul. That's the point. I mean, you could. That's I don't know. It's complete. It's there's really anything for the basketball, but the refs have so much power though.
Yeah, it's fouls, right? There's a way they can call or charges or whatever. So there is quite a bit of things that could go wrong there, but it's a much smaller court, right? So it's probably also less referees, which probably could be a good thing too, because they're all on the same page. But I think basketball is not terrible. I mean, they're not great with the referees, but they don't have a terrible situation. Soccer is just fouls and stuff. This guy should got a red card for that. Red cards. I don't think soccer's that bad. Now they do the offside thing with the computer anyway, right? There's a great example of the offside, and that works. So
that's one of my things in soccer. I wish that there's no offsides. I wish you could literally just go up, but there's a certain limit that you can go up towards. That's what I would like because it's more fun seeing no offsides, I would say, in soccer.
I think it's an important rule. Otherwise, you would just cherry pick all the time. You just leave a guy out there.
But I'm saying that there should be a boundary, though. There should be a boundary, you have to be behind the 16 of the soccer field on your opponent's side, because it's kind of boring to me every time. Whether most of the time when you see your team, that's clearly offside, but then when you go in the review and you look at the instant replay, it's no, that's not a foul. I mean, not a offside.
Right.
I don't know. I think it'd be better for soccer, but that's just me. I'm not a huge soccer person.
Yeah, I'm not a huge soccer person either. But so that's that. But football. So kind of the point about football is one, it's a 100-yard field, right? It's pretty wide. You got different positions doing completely different things, right? So one guy's job is to block. One guy's job is to stop the receiver. Everyone's doing something different, right? In basketball, everyone's just trying to get open and score, right? Soccer, everyone's trying to get open and score, or defend. They're doing one or two things. Baseball, they're either trying to hit the ball or stop the ball and defend or pitch the ball, or that's really a catch, pitch, and hit, right? That's the only thing, or run. In football, you're doing a bunch of things. You're blocking, you're trying to catch, you're trying to throw, trying to run, You're trying to rush the passer. You're trying to defend the pass. You're trying to kick in that situation. What else are you trying to do? You're trying to knock balls down. You're trying to get interceptions. You're trying to I'm sure there's something else I could think of. But all this stuff is happening at once, right? Completely different things. So and you could stop, right? If someone's trying to run down the field, you just tackle him before you never have a catch, right? All you would do is tackle somebody, right? Tackle all the receivers. Everyone looks around like, what do we do now? There's nobody. Everyone went down, right? So obviously you can't allow stuff like that happening, right? If the defensive line just goes after people's legs, and the offensive line, let's say the defensive line just goes after their legs, and the linebacker just comes run by it, right? Then there would be no point of blocking. You would just be chop blocking people all the time. Exactly. So some of this stuff, like these rules are very important because otherwise there would be no game, right? Things like roughing the passer probably aren't necessary for the game. Otherwise, you'd just be taking cheap shots. So that's like a protection of it, right? Because the quarterback's so important. I'm just gonna take cheap shots on him all the time to win this game, right? Because if he gets hurt, then he's out. So like you can't allow that stuff to happen. Yeah. You can't be like holding and pass interference. All that stuff is very important. Yeah. But the thing is if you call these calls at the wrong period of time, it can have a huge impact on the game because it's the penalties for him are right. You can't physically stop the guy from holding, right? So you have to provide a penalty after the fact, right? And that's either a new set of downs, yardages, if it's not a new set of downs. And with that comes time implications, right? And towards the end of the game, it doesn't matter. It matters a lot more because there's only 2 minutes left. And now you just gave another full set of downs. The game's over now, right? So in the Super Bowl, like if it was a big egregious penalty that affected the play, I would have been all for it. I said, yeah, that was an egregious penalty. The guy would have caught the ball if you didn't hold him. Sure, you got to give him a new set of downs. It was very minor, and it wasn't a penalty, I guess. But we got robbed of a good end of that game.
Yes.
Because of this minor penalty that somebody decided to call. And he might be right, technically, but we all got robbed of a good end of the game. As a fan of not really caring, not a big Chiefs fan, not an Eagles fan, just looking to watch a game. To me, I don't think that helps anybody. Like think about the NFL. They could have had, this great ending, right? They could have gone to overtime, had the first new overtime rules. Like think about that storyline there, been on TV longer, get more commercials, right? And I'm not saying that that's what they should have. If there was a penalty, they should have called it. But all this could have happened, and it didn't because some referee made some ticky-tack call at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. Like, I think there should be some way to say, like, this play didn't affect it. We can't be making this call right now. Move on. Mm-hmm. Let him play. Yeah.
But going back to the catch real quick of Devontae Smith, for instance, what do you rule as a catch at this point of us watching football? What do you rule? Like, they have to catch it, gets 2 feet in bounds, and it doesn't matter if they drop it out of bounds or they have to hold on to it and maintain possession. That's what I like to know.
I think the rule's been made better. I don't really have an issue with the rule. I think you got to catch the ball, right? You got to have possession of it. You got to maintain possession. What Dez did, he had possession, but then you also got to prove that you have the ball and you intend to do something with it, right? You're not going to make a catch. Like, think about this, right? If you have a catch and there's nobody else in the field and you need to know you're going to touch that, what would you do, Jeremy? If we're going up to this thing, right? Someone throws you the ball, right? Go. And you catch it, you're going to run, right? So the point of the football is to catch and run, right? Just like I said, you catch ball and run, right? So if you catch the ball, right, and then you go down because you're falling down and drop it, you obviously didn't make the catch, right? Because you caught it, but you didn't finish the catch. Because the idea of the catch is I catch the ball, then maybe I fall down because I trip, but no one touches me, so I get up and I run again. Right, so I have to maintain possession so I can run again. So I think you got to catch the ball. You got to have possession with it, not necessarily 2 hands. Just to have possession in your hand, right, or some part of your body, because you can catch technically in your legs too, right? Yeah. So you have to have possession of the ball and show that the ball is not moving. Okay, and then the next thing is you need to be able to compose yourself and take the next part of football with the catch is catch, ball, run, right? So you need to be able to run or at least maintain that possession through the ground, right? Because, if you're on the ground and somebody touches you, obviously you can't run. So you need to catch ball and maintain possession enough to either get tackled and marked down, or go out of bounds, or run forward, right? If you run forward and make a move up the field and you get hit and then the ball comes out, well, that's a fumble then, right? Because that can happen. You have the ball, you run, and then you get hit, and it's a fumble. So that's very possible, right? If you make a catch, you go to the ground, and you get tackled, you maintain possession. I think the problem is when you make the catch, you go to the ground, and you drop the ball while you're going down to the ground. I don't think that's a catch. I think that's right. I think you need to maintain possession through the ground. Now, in the end zone, once you make the catch, I believe it's a touchdown, but you need to have some possession. I believe you have to maintain it through the ground too in the end zone, right?
Yes.
You do, right? So there's no difference there. All Dez really would have needed to do in that situation, going back to that, was not lunge forward, because he probably would have maintained. So he took a risk by lunging forward.
Yep.
And he shouldn't have taken that risk. He should have maintained possession and then took the lunge after when he was on the ground, assuming no one touched him.
He was trying to play hero ball.
He was just trying to score. I mean, that's fine, but I don't think that's a football move enough, because I think going to the ground, you need to maintain possession through the ground. If you're moving, if you catch the ball and then you move, then it's a fumble.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I'm questioning also for how many seconds because we can go back to I think it was Kenneth Gainwell where it was either Kenneth Gainwell or Miles Sanders who catches it, but then instantly gets hit and it's a fumble. And it was supposed to be a Chiefs touchdown, but then it got overturned. It was like the second one.
Yeah, that one.
Because that one, I don't think it was a catch, but that's why I wonder, how many seconds do you rule it? If you full motion, would you say?
I think that came down to making a football move, right? So he definitely caught the ball, and he kind of turns and then gets hit, and then the ball comes out. So he never really moved his whole body. He caught the ball, went to start the move to make a football move, and never really finishes the football move. And I think that's probably the problem in that one. I was okay with that one. I honestly would have said it was a fumble, just out of my own knowledge. He clearly caught the ball, but based off of that, you need to make a full football move, and he probably didn't. So that's why I'm fine with it. In theory, that's probably a catch. Just in theory, the Dez one probably is a catch, but in actuality, because there's a difference between theory and be able to support it, right? This is an actual game that you need to have an actual rule for, and you need to be able to support it, right? Theory is great theoretically, but you need to be able to put into place and actionalize, right? Mm-hmm. And if you can't define out something in a rule and make it concrete, then you can't do that. And I don't think there's any way to concrete this theory thing of well, it looks like it's a catch, but I can't really explain to you why it's a catch other than it looks like it.
Yeah.
Because that's subjective. That's not anything that's...
It has to be clear and obvious.
Clear and obvious, right. So I think one of these borderline plays, that's the thing with football, is always going to have borderline plays. I think that I was fine with that one. I thought it was very borderline. It seemed like a catch, but he didn't really make a full football move. It could have gone either way for me. I'm fine with it. No problem. The penalty was just the wrong place, wrong time. If it happened earlier in the game, whatever. It was just the wrong time to call that penalty. And I really think that should be part of the referee's training. And you got to realize when you make the penalty, how it's going to impact the game.
Yeah.
Just again, with the jaywalking situation, it's totally against the law to jaywalk, right? There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But you're really going to give me a ticket, officer, for jaywalking when there's no one around and there's literally no danger to any single person? I just be sitting here and looking around for 20 minutes until the light changes? Are you serious? Come on. We're not children here, right? I think that was a ticky-tack call, and it was just the wrong time to call it.
Yeah. I definitely feel like you and me should just go to the NFL meeting, just represent the refs. So just we should just train the refs, for goodness sake, or just join the meeting of the refs. I feel like.
Yeah, I think they need to be able to have some kind of review on these penalties with the NFL, because the penalties have such an impact on the game.
Yep.
And especially, like I said, in the last 2 minutes of the playoffs, they're really integral games. Not that every game's not integral, it is. But I could see where it's kind of a slippery slope. You don't want to get involved with second guessing the referees. I get that. But in the Super Bowl, you can't have this stuff happen. The stuff that just cannot happen when the whole world is spending. Look how much money is on the football on the game. How many people are watching? This is stuff you cannot have happen. As the NFL being a corporation with all this money and all this power, You cannot allow this stuff to happen. Like the field with how slippery it was.
Gosh,
Right?
that was terrible. I
I mean,
hated that.
you told me that you spent all this money on this turf, and that the only time you use it is in the Super Bowl. That's not a good idea. I mean, think about that. Let's think about that, right?
How much?
So,
do you want to know how much that cost, though? Do you want to know how much that was?
yeah.
$800,000 for that grass field.
Right. So let's just think about this real quick, Jeremy. Right.
Yep.
So let's say you're a CEO, right? You have this huge meeting, right? Somebody's coming in, they're going to invest a ton of money in PackReacts, right? And you say, okay, I really want to impress this investor, right? So I'm going to buy a new boardroom like table or whatever, right? I'm going to spend $10,000 on this table, right?
Okay.
And I'm not going to test it out beforehand. I'm just going to put it out. This is going to be the first meeting we run on this table, whatever, right? So, the meeting happens. You don't test it out whatsoever. This is probably a bad example. All right, so let's say, here's a better thing, right? Let's say we're doing an imported stream. We got Wes Hodkowitz on, right? And we have never used it. We're doing a new platform we've never tested out before, right?
Yes.
And it doesn't work whatsoever. It's terrible, right? But this was the stream. Like, this was an important stream to you. You had a great guest coming on, and your stream doesn't work.
That happened to us with Carson. Remember that?
Oh, I know, but luckily it didn't happen with West. That would have been real bad.
It would be.
With like your thing that was echoing, yeah, right.
Yeah.
But this is a little bit less thing because we don't have the money behind, right? But this was an important guest for us, right? And we're gonna train. This has been working StreamYard. Like, we come on, we're used to it. Like, it works. If there's any issues, we'll figure it out. But if we're gonna move to a new software, wouldn't you want to do another show like you and me go on one day, or Carson comes on, or your friend who actually, it's, by the way, shout out to your GOAT series. I watched him on The Punter. I'd love to get your friend on the show. He seemed very knowledgeable about punting and everything. I'd love to give it a chance to talk to him.
He's also helping me with lawn snappers too, because I had a brief research of him. So he's doing that. So I will have him on the two. He's a Cleveland Browns fan.
Yeah, we should get him on. I think he would sound very knowledgeable. And I was impressed by the show. So good job. Good first inaugural episode.
Yeah.
Definitely, if you're watching, go check out the GOAT series.
I'm editing 2 episodes after the stream, and I'm gonna hope to get lawn snappers and kickers by tomorrow or this weekend out. So
okay, nice. But yeah, like a huge game, super. You're gonna do the new turf you never used before. You spent all this money on, and it turns out to suck. Like, to me, like, that's unacceptable. It really is, and it's just one of these things where, like, that's who we're putting our money in and our faith and our efforts, and these people that can't get that right. Like, you got to get this stuff right. Like, this is integral stuff that so many people are, relying on the NFL to provide them entertainment. Think about how many people spend money to go out there, right? You want to see a good game, right? And I know not everything is under everyone's control, but the turf is under somebody's control. Like, test it out. Like, hey guys, like, you're going to have one practice on this turf field. Like, each team is going to have a practice during the week. So at least you're used to the way the turf is going to be. They don't do that. Like, why is that so hard to do?
Well, the thing with this stadium, you can take the grass out and you can move it, where some other stadiums you can't do that at all. It's just sitting there, like the Packers stadium, where there's this grass, but you have to stay. But yeah, you should test it out. But then it brings up the usual question in the NFL between the players. I know David Bakhtiari has strongly suggested that we should have grass fields over turf fields because turf fields are more likely to cause ACL, other injuries. So that's always going to be the big debates. And owners don't want to spend a whole lot of money, like the $800,000 on that field. So it's always going to be the question of how will you take care of the field. Because it could have been like you set off the sprinkler by accident last night, and that's what could have happened in the Super Bowl. Like, they set the sprinkler off, it didn't go right, and the grass got completely wet, because that's what I felt like it was. The grass looked very wet and, like, dark to me, which
I think it was the paint or something. They put too much paint on it.
Well, that too. It's like it should be like the paint didn't dry. It's still wet.
Well, I don't know if it was wet paint, but I think it was just caked too much on it, where like it became slippery because there was too much paint on the grass.
Yeah.
At least that's what I heard. I don't know. I wasn't playing on it, but yeah, I mean, you what you got to do is you got to put all the paint on it and say, all right, guys, you play on this now, right? Like, it's not like they're playing on it during the game, right? So if it got that messed up, right, from the first quarter to the fourth quarter, I mean, you'd see it, right? So you can't tell me you can't both have 2 practices, one on each day, and then, leave another day where if something gets messed up, all right, touch it up, Like, you got to get used to the field before the game occurs. I don't think that's anything that's crazy. Like, I think it's very easy to do, and it should be the baseline. It should be the baseline that we do is you have the field. Each team gets to practice to get used to it and say, hey guys, they're very slippery out there. Well, why do we have all this paint on the field? Like, I know it's got a Super Bowl, got to have a nice logo. You got to put our names in there, but is there any way we could get that so it's less slippery? I mean, our players are falling everywhere, or at least now they know what cleats they need to wear, right? Yeah, and they're not making a decision on the fly.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember where the Packers had that game that was supposed to get the Hall of Fame, and then the whole field was not right?
Yeah, that's another thing.
They at least tested it out, but again, like, it's just like that's the problem.
But it took them too long. It took them to they fly all the way out there to
Ohio.
No, it wasn't Ohio. It was Canada. Oh, you told this happened twice.
Oh yeah.
So it happened once in Canton with the thing when they had the NFL Hall of Fame game the night before, and they had all the podiums and stuff on the field, right? And then the next morning it got all messed up because of what happened. And now they don't do that anymore. Now they have the game first, and then they do the ceremony after, I believe, right?
Yes.
Or they do the ceremony in another spot in the games and on the field.
They do the ceremony in another spot.
Maybe that's what they do now. So they fixed that, so that's good, right? But that should never happen. Someone should say, "Hey guys, we got all this stuff on the field the night before. You really think the field's gonna be ready for a football game the next day? Probably not. Like, all right, so can we do it down the block? Yeah, sure, let's do it there. Okay, yeah, that's a much better idea. Like, okay, why is that difficult? These guys are getting paid all this money. They can't think about like it's gonna mess up the field. But the other time this has happened in Canada. Interesting idea. Have a game in Canada during the preseason. I like it, but like
marketing. That's why.
Yeah, right. I get it, but like, can we play the game? Is the field good enough? Like, didn't anyone say, all right, let me send my intern out there and say, all right, intern Jeremy, Wes got you the job here at the Packers. We want you to go out to Canada for us and just take a look at the field. Like, see, like, is this going to work for us? All right, take some pictures, FaceTime us, and bring the field guy with you too, and we'll give us a report, right? They probably did that, but then what they didn't do is they didn't say like, hey, you guys, in Canada they have the goalposts in the middle of the end zone. What happens when we take that goalpost out? Is there going to be like grass there, or like, what are you going to put there? Oh, I'm going to put this like little piece of like grass over it, and like that was the issue, is that they put like this like
that patch, like you're having
patch,
golf,
right? Exactly,
like you do in golf when you basically hit a big patch and then you have to clean. It's like that.
Yeah, right. It was like, so like, is that really going to be the answer here? Like, we got to get a better solution than that. Like, maybe what you got to do is you got to move that field back like 2 weeks before and put like some real big dirt in there and grow grass on that part. So it looks like the rest of the grass, and then you got to dig it up after, so you can put your goalpost back after. We got to figure out some solution, but we can't be waiting till the day of and say, "Hey guys, whoever thought we never thought that we had to move the goalpost back, and now there's this like fake grass patch that's going to kill our players over here." Like, it should have taken that to that day, and that's a failure. It's a failure on the coaches, a failure on the league, a failure on the teams. That's what it is. It's a failure. But look, failures happen sometimes. And it is what it is. But what you got to do is you can't have a failure happen twice. You got to have, learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, like, remember when we had, like, with Mexico, we had some issues there. I mean, the first game it worked for, like, out there, but, like, the next game it didn't work out because of some various reasons. And then what the NFL is going to do, and what's probably best for them, is they're going to expand, like how they just did with Germany. They're going to probably go to Asia and do a Japan game. And then you're going to have to test out the field to see if that works too. And so
I think what the NFL needs to do is, right, they realize that their product, right, just like if your product was shirts or whatever, right, you're making a shirt, you need to be able to make sure you can make the shirt. I can't sell you a shirt, right, if I can't produce a shirt, right? So I need to make sure that I have a way to make the shirt, way to source the materials, way to market the shirt, way to come up with the designs.
Yep.
And I need all this needs to happen in order for me to run a successful business. The NFL, their product is football, right? And in order to play football, you need a field, right? So you should be a guy that I'm the field specialist, right? Like the NFL, the Packers have the guy that runs the field, like the field manager. Well, the NFL needs a guy that is like a touring field manager, where like, maybe for each team when they play at home, the NFL, like there's a process there. We're comfortable with that. There's a field manager, a turf guy for each team. So I'm comfortable with that. But whenever we go to a place that we're not used to be, that it's not the NFL standard, right? We need a team of 3 guys that are employed by the NFL, not employed by the team, that say, okay, we're going to go out there. We're going to make sure this field, it's our responsibility that this field is up to par of NFL standards, because we got 2 teams coming out here, and we got fans coming out here. We got, TV people around the country ready for this game to watch the game. And we need to live up to that expectation. So it's my job that this field is ready to go. And if the field's not ready to go, then I need to be able to say, well, why isn't the field ready to go? Well, I fucked, I messed up, right? I didn't do my job, right? And then that guy needs to explain to everybody, I didn't do my job. The field wasn't ready to go. I failed. We can't have the game because I didn't do my job, right? And whatever. Like then we have to move forward still. But at least that guy's taking accountability. Like who's taking accountability that the game's not happening? I don't see anybody raising their hand.
Yeah. The one thing I've always kind of interested in is the Super Bowl committee, the Super Bowl host committee. Like like the Olympics committee. They host it and just see their process, how they do the determination of who gets the winning bid and who gets to host the Super Bowl. And then the whole process of hosting the Super Bowl that day and how the field conditions go, the products, the merchandise, the tickets, the event, what's leading up to it, the special guest stars coming on. That's something I'm always interested in, to see how the Olympic Committee or the Super Bowl host committee, whichever, of how they do it. I like to see the behind this. I want to learn about the behind the scenes about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of logistics in order to run an event like this, right? Think about everything you need to do. You need to first, source the stadium, make sure that you can have, an event at the stadium of this size. You need to get security. You need to get police and fire and emergency medic. You got to get the hospital on board, like what happened with the Moore. You got to get people. There's so many things that need to go on. You need to get riot control, right? You need to get tons of stuff. There's tons of things going into this. You need to get concession stands, right? You need to make sure that the plumbing works, the electricity works, that the halftime show can occur. You got to make sure that there's enough hotels that go on. You got to make sure that there's an active and working airport to bring in the fans, that there's transportation, that there's, ways to take internet, right? All this stuff has to occur in order for this to go on. It's your job as the committee. So I think that, it's always interesting because we said, like, can Green Bay, right, get an event like this? Now, the Super Bowl is too big of an event. It's too late in the year where it'd be too cold, I think, to really ever have that happen. And I don't think anyone ever really thinks that's realistic for Green Bay to host the Super Bowl, which I think is rightfully so. Yeah. Maybe we can host a draft, and I think that's probably going to happen, even though there's a lot of logistics there.
That's what Wes was saying when he was on here. He was saying
and that's what he was saying. And I think it's going to happen. But there is some downsides, too. Like, even with traveling to Green Bay is not easy in terms of, flying into Green Bay. There's no direct flights. If I'm coming from New York or you're coming from Philadelphia, there's no direct flights. You have to go to Chicago. You have to go to Minneapolis. You got to go to Detroit. And maybe with the – well, yeah, but you usually don't connect in Milwaukee. I mean, I guess you probably could, but I haven't seen many of that.
Sometimes I go to Chicago or Milwaukee when I go out there. That's what I do.
But you drive for sure, or you connect?
Fly. So I go from Philly to either Chicago or to Milwaukee. So I go to one of those places and then I drive up to my.
No, that's what I'm saying. So obviously you fly to Chicago. I'm saying if you didn't want to drive, right? I drive usually. What I did the first time was we actually connected in Chicago and flew to Green Bay.
Okay.
But those tickets usually like $500-$600 from New York. That's a lot of money for one ticket. That you could go pretty far for. You go to California usually with that. Actually, California only cost me $250 last year when I went. But in theory, you could probably go to London for $600 if you go. If you buy it enough in advance. If you buy it too close, then it's probably like $900 to $1,000. Yeah. But that's a lot of money. $500-$600 because Green Bay is a small airport, and it's not even direct. You got to connect. That's a lot of money. What I did was and I think what you usually do is you fly into Milwaukee and drive up. But now you have all these. You got to rent all these cars. You got all these people driving up from Milwaukee or Chicago to Green Bay for the draft. And that's not too easy to do. I mean, it wasn't that hard for me, and I obviously do it all the time because I want to go to Green Bay. But it's not easy for the normal fan to, damn, I got to realize I got to fly into Milwaukee, rent a car, drive up and drive back. It's kind of a pain. So I could see where the draft could even be a pain where they don't really want to do it, because ideally for the NFL, they'd have somebody, fly into a major city, right? Major airport, go to their hotel, take an Uber to their hotel, and then everything's right in the main city. It's nice, right? Yeah. That's what the NFL is looking for these big events, because they want a lot of turnout.
Yeah.
Green Bay is going to be tough for a lot of people to get to. I think about this. If you're not a Green Bay fan, would you really go to the draft in Green Bay? I mean, I don't know if I would. I mean, I'm going to go because I'm a Green Bay fan, and I think there's going to be a lot of Packers fans, and believe me, I'll be there for that. But if I'm not a Green Bay fan, am I really going to do that? Maybe. I mean, possibly, but probably not, right? So, that's probably the selling point that might be tough there. Also, you got to make sure there's enough hotels to cover all these people. And the hotel situation in Green Bay is not great. I mean, it's tough. They know that, there's an 8-week window each year for them to make all their money. So their prices go out and say they're $500 for that Saturday night to Sunday night. I'm sure most of our viewers are aware of this if they're ever try to go to Lambeau. And that's tough. $500 for one night, and it's not like the Ritz-Carlton. This is just the regular Holiday Inn Express. But, it's in Green Bay and there's a game going on. So it's supply and demand. I get why they're costing, why it's that much. But, is there enough inventory of hotel rooms for an event like the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. For an event like the draft, maybe, but it's probably a stretch. You're probably just going to do it because we want to give Green Bay something. But, it's probably a little bit of a stretch. And, what are you going to do? Build a whole bunch of hotels that the area can't support just for that one event? It's not going to happen. So, it's tough. It really is.
I mean, that's what they do for the Olympics all the time. They just build stadiums, build hotels. You can go look at the World Cup, for instance. In Rio, you don't see the soccer stadiums used. They're just abandoned there. Qatar, the hotels were terrible there, from what I've heard.
I mean, maybe you build one of these shanty towns in Qatar. Yeah,
that's what I'm because you probably can do it, but the question is, how much quality are you going to get out of that? That's the question.
And where is there to do that too? It's not like there's just rolling, swaths of land. I guess you could maybe get somebody's farm. Hey guys, don't grow any wheat on this farm this year. I want to put a shanty town up for the people coming in for the draft. Somewhere in Wisconsin. I mean, that's still pretty far, but there's really no farms around Green Bay that I saw that rolling. But I don't know where you even build something like that. I'm sure there's a place. I'm not aware of it. But I don't know. I think there's probably enough hotel rooms to hold the draft. But I think it's probably a tough sell to get a lot of people to go up to Green Bay.
That's a question.
For the draft, too. For Packers fans, I don't think it's a tough sell. I think there'll be a lot of people up there. You're going to go for the draft, right?
Probably, depending what year and where I'm at in my life. Because I don't know if I'll be working for a sports team or not, and that's the question.
Well, if a sports team say, "Well, this is a draft," I'll do an episode up there. I mean, what do you call it?
A PackReacts, but it depends of where I am in my life. If I'm either working for a sports team, then I'm very limited to what I can do. But I have to see what happens in the future if we get the points.
I think we'll get it. I think that there's enough nuggets out there that's showing that we're going to get it. And I think 2026 is probably the window. I think we get it. I'd put my money on it.
That's what I question the 2026 because I was talking with my professor and one of my friends who my friend got to work the Super Bowl, and my professor, and he's a huge Philly sports fan from Philadelphia, and he was telling me that in baseball they're hosting the All-Star game in Philadelphia, World Cup. One of the games is going to be in Philly. It's going to be at the Eagles Stadium. The NBA and hockey game of the All-Stars, they're most likely going to be hosted there. So then it questions you, will Philadelphia get the NFL draft? They basically get to host everything, the All-Stars, soccer, and the NFL draft. That's what I question.
Maybe.
So I want them to get it, but the question is, when is it going to happen? That's my question. question.
So 2025, sorry, is the one that's open.
Ooh,
2026 hasn't even been talked about yet. I don't
2025.
think.
I would actually do that.
This year is Kansas City.
Yeah.
Next year is Detroit, and Green Bay was a finalist with Washington, D.C.
See, DC wouldn't be that bad, but like at the same time, come on, I want to get Green Bay like this one time.
But 2025, apparently, Charles Watt Robinson of Yahoo Sports reported in May 2022 that Wisconsin would probably get a chance to host the 2025 NFL Draft after losing Detroit as a finalist for the 2024 event. So maybe, a few more hotels come up by then, and that's what they're hoping for. I don't know if there's any big projects underway that would be the difference between 2024 and 2025 that they're hoping for. Maybe they just wanted to get Detroit in there and said, all right, Green Bay would be in 2025, which makes sense. I don't know. But I can see that happening. I think that's probably what's going to happen. So, 2 years from today, hopefully we'll be getting ready for a trip to Green Bay in April. Right? It's April.
Yeah, it would be this. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to go. I would love to go to the NFL draft. I would just love it, just for the experience.
Have you never been?
I've never been. I never got to go to the Philadelphia one.
Oh, I was there.
Lucky, I never got.
I've been to a lot of NFL drafts actually, because when it was in New York, I'd always go. I'd go like basically every year. I saw Randall Cobb get picked. I would go to the second day, not the first. The only day I went for the first was the one in Pennsylvania. Was Philly. But I didn't get in time to see like Mahomes got picked. I didn't get picked till like the Eagles pick at like 13 or something. I was like online to get in until then. It sucked. So I missed Mahomes get picked. I missed Trubisky get picked. And I could have laughed at him. The Bears.
I wanted to go, but I didn't have time to do it. I was busy, I remember, during that time. So, yeah, I would like to go to a NFL draft. That's what I'd be hoping to do.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It's free, which is nice. You don't have to pay. Yeah, it's free. Now they have a whole bunch of other events going on around it, which I like just going to the draft. They give you like this headset so you can listen to like the TVs and you see the people behind you, doing their broadcast. They come. I think it's a fun thing. When the Packers come on the clock, you get all excited and like, oh yeah, like whatever. I think it's a fun thing because it's free. Like, I wouldn't pay a lot of money for it, but it's free. It's something to do. It's during the off season. I'm not going to go to Kansas City for it. I'm not going to go to Detroit for it. But if it's in Green Bay, I'll go to Detroit. If it's easy to get there, like Philadelphia, I was in college. I had a few friends that were down to go. One of them was a Packers fan. One of them was a Eagles fan. And one of them just was an NFL fan. He was actually a fan of the Saints and the Dolphins. It was a good time. We had a good time going to Philly. I drove down there. Me and my dad were the ones that went to New York, and that was free. We worked right down the block, actually. My dad worked in Rockefeller Center, and it was always at Radio City. So we went basically every year. And it was easy to go to. Now it's on New York all the time. It's not as easy. But I think it's a great event to try to go to. I wouldn't recommend going to Kansas City and Detroit if you have no other reason going just for that. But if you'd like to see Kansas City, it's probably not a bad idea to go. Yeah. Maybe I should go to Kansas City because I just made a decision on that podcast. My girlfriend's friends live in St. Louis.
Ooh. Okay.
St. Louis. Maps on Google. How far is it from Kansas City? It can't be that far. I think it's pretty close.
I think it's a little. I think it's closer to Illinois. So I think that's a little bit distance.
It's far.
Yeah. I would say that's what I wouldn't like.
Because they're both in Missouri.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about that.
It's still 4 hours away, so it's not that close. Screw it.
So you're gonna go to the draft?
Nah.
Okay.
I don't know. If there's a time to go, it's around then. But I'd have to start the drive 4 hours. It's kind of far.
Is it worth it? Is it worth it, or would you rather stream with me in the draft?
No, I think we should stream. Screw it.
No,
I think we should stream.
I want to stream the draft, which I know we've talked about this before. It's like I'm trying to debate whether we want to have all
Packers. Guess on?
I mean,
yeah. You know what? That was a terrible idea. We will go to Green Bay though. If that is more important, going to Green Bay for the draft than doing the show. Sorry, guys.
with that, obviously.
But we'll see you there, right? We'll do the show from Green Bay, not live because we're going to have to go to the draft. But we will do the show. We'd love to get you guys on personally, in person.
Though.
What?
I was talking about this year. Do we want to have to get like what kind of can't
Well,
get?
that's what I was getting to.
Okay.
I'm just saying in Green Bay, we're not going to do the stream. But yes, other than that, we got to do the stream. Yeah, we should get guests. We were talking in that chat. I saw Jamie for the creators. So maybe some of those guys want to come on. Yep. Maybe some of the viewers want to come on if anybody's watching.
I got a couple that would.
And maybe we can get some big guys too. Who knows? I mean, it's the draft. It's probably tough. They're probably not going to come on a podcast like us.
I'm not going to get Wes Hoskowitz on here. That's
not it. But again, the fact that we got Wes Hoskowitz on it at all, I mean, that's a big win. That really is. So we really appreciate it, Wes, for joining. Seriously, again, I can't say as much. I mean, that's a big win for our podcast.
Hey, I said the whole.
Jeremy's absolutely. I'm not taking any credit whatsoever. Jeremy does all the work here. But hey, if I'll do some work right now. If you want to join the show, join us. We got to get one of those guys on. I don't really know who they are. How'd you get access to that chat, by the way?
They added me. It was one of the YouTubers that watches our show.
Really?
Yeah. It was Packers Digital.
And he watches the show.
He watches the show. Well, he's not watching right now, but he watches the show.
Well, maybe he'll watch it later on.
He usually does because he always enjoys our show. And then then, so what I was talking, just to let you guys know, it is another Packers chat. We were discussing with fans. Anyway, I was discussing because they were doing a bunch of trivia in the thing, and one person would love to because he's new to he started his own channel not channel, but own Instagram page of Packers stuff, and he was like, I want to learn more about the Packers. I'm like, boom, we got to do a trivia right away. We absolutely we have to do a Packers trivia. And
we're not going to have the thing that Cheesehead TV does with the equipment. I don't think either of us can do that. But but one thing I want, so this podcast, and I want to get your opinion on it. This is ultimately your idea, right? It's your podcast. I'm just,
You're the social media person. You're the
I'm just the sidekick. Anyway, I always like Robin more than Batman, so I'm Robin, right? Do you not agree with that?
I know you're Robin.
I was a big fan of Robin. I thought Robin was a really good character.
The only time I liked Robin was the Dark Knight series.
Oh, I really liked Robin, so I'll take that role easily. Anyway, I view this show, right, as not a Packers podcast. What I view it as is a Packers fan podcast where, look, we know football, we watch it, we experts on football. I've never really would you call yourself an X and O's expert? Listen to Dusty Evely talk, right?
We're not Andy Herman out here.
We're not Andy Herman. We're not Dusty Evely. We're giving our opinions on the game. I think we're bringing some knowledge, some excitement. But we're not football. No one's going to hire me as their football coach anytime soon. And I probably don't going to hire you, Jeremy, either. Sorry. No. Right. So, we're not experts on exactly what's going on in football. But what I am interested in, and somebody was asking me, why am I not rooting for the Eagles for the Super Bowl? And the reason why is I don't like their fan base. I think that they got kind of a crummy fan base where they're rude to people, right? You go to the game and they, like you said, you won't go to a game because they're rude, right?
Try telling that to the Eagle fans right here. Try telling that, because every time I say your fan base is bad, they say, no, we are a passionate fan base. I'm like, absolutely not. You're not a passionate fan base.
Right. I think the Packers fan base is one of the top fan bases in sports, not just the NFL. And I think that there's a lot of coverage on the team. I really think there is. But I don't think anybody has really focused on the fans. You guys, the guys watching this, think about this. We've been rambling now for an hour, 30 minutes. We came on this show, right? And we said, maybe 20, 30. There's not much to talk about, right? So if you've been watching this for 93 minutes, right?
Exactly.
I mean, first of all, maybe you needed to do something better with your life. I mean, probably us
Friday nights.
Yeah, on Friday night, watching these guys talk about it in circles. But think about that, right? That goes to show you that you have a real big fandom of this team, and there's a lot of people that care about this stuff. This is their lives. This is and it's not that it's a negative thing, right? It's a positive thing. There's a lot of cool people. You're meeting new people. Look, Jeremy and I met, just like I said, just because of the NFL. Otherwise, we might have been like, hey, how's it going? Or whatever. In theory, but we never would have started talking. somebody I never met before, I have an immediate connection because, hey, we have a huge part of our life is something that's on TV, something we could all talk about, right? And it's important to us. This is, and think about this, right? Especially when you don't live in Wisconsin. If you live in Wisconsin, right, everyone is a Packers fan for the most part. So if something, we kind of live and die by the sword, right? If they do well, we're all happy together. If they do bad, we're all sad together. Living like we've kind of lived in the trenches,
Exactly.
where if the Eagles do really well and the Packers do good, like, oh, Jeremy, like we won the Super Bowl, like I know they didn't win this year, but like a few years ago, right? And like Jeremy, like the Packers suck, like this is the stuff we got to deal with. So it makes it personal, right? Where like I'm going to get you next year, it makes it so like and that's something you can share with because I got the same thing. That's why people are giving me the other way with the Giants, right? And that's why I hate the Giants now. But I mean, it's all good fun. I'm not holding this against anybody. What I'm saying is it's a personal kind of thing. And, now you can share that with somebody you just met, just somebody you met 2 seconds and have that connection, an instant connection. And that's what sports does for this society. So really what my view of this podcast is, and that's why I really like the shows that we get guests on because I want to hear about your experience and, your connection to this team. That's why I liked when we had Carson on. Like you said, he has, this is a kid that's around 14, is it 15 or 16? How old is he?
He's like a young high schooler.
Right. Young high schooler, right? Well-spoken, is spending a lot of time. I have an Instagram channel, right? I'm 27. I'm not putting that kind of effort into my Instagram channel. Right. So that's impressive, right? Yes. So somebody in high school that's spending that much time putting out all this content, I got to be a little bit careful with spreading some fake news. Like I think he put out that Joe Barry got fired. So just got to be a little bit careful with that.
The amount of times I've had to deal with so much clickbait from like those.
Some of these channels have to be careful with the fake news that they're saying. But so he's got to be careful on that. But that's all right. No one's gonna be perfect, right?
Big B, like he's a high schooler.
High schooler, right? Exactly. Like, so what I'm interested in is the people around the team more so than the team. Because the team, look, ESPN does that. And if you're not coming to us to learn about the team, maybe you like our banter and all that stuff. But what I think that makes us different everybody else is ESPN. And if they're not worried about Big B, like I know Big B got out there, like they said, like, oh, Big B, and they were almost like joking about him on the Pat McAfee show. But they're not going to have a whole episode where they can invite him on, right?
You know how the story originally broke?
No.
It was this Packers podcaster named Big B who was on his Make-A-Wish weekend, asked Rodgers, and then tweeted it. Like, scooped all of us. It was amazing.
Shout out, Big B.
Big B. Love you, Big B. Oh.
Great. I mean, I was kind of annoyed, but good for him.
Whoa.
Jesus. So,
yeah, like they're almost joking around, Like, yeah. I think what this podcast does is it allows people to get their workout. I think we should get some, fan creators out there, but people maybe that don't create, right? And just listen. They're a consumer of the information that they, our podcast or Cheesehead TV or Andy Herman, Pack a Day, or maybe they're a consumer of the regular, just ESPN and this stuff. And they just want to have a platform to speak their mind. This is the place to go, Now, obviously, you have to, have some direction. You can't just come on here and start ranting. But, that's what I feel our podcast is a place to share stories about the people around the team that aren't professionals. Exactly. Or maybe they're professionals too, like Wes, but not in a professional aspect. Like he comes on, he's having a good time. There's no, he's on like the Packers Unscripted where there's a nice background and he's like, oh, hi, how's it going, everybody? Like Packers Unscripted, like, and giving a whole nice like buttoned up thing. Like this is just having a nice time. We're just having a conversation. There's no, expectations or pressure. It's just a conversation. That's all it is. So. Fun. And having fun, right? That's all you can ask for. Because at the end of the day, I know it's a business, but from the fan perspective, it's about having fun, connecting with people, and entertainment.
Lifelong memories is what I've always been told.
And I think it's lost a lot because of the business. This is just like anything else. When money gets involved, you kind of lose the entertainment aspect of it because they got to do this, blah blah blah. It becomes political. It becomes into the news. You got all these people looking out for health and safety, which is all important stuff. But at the end of the day, the reason why football exists and why people spend money is to entertain themselves.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's lost in it. And that's what we're here for. We're here to entertain. Now, maybe we're not most entertaining people in the world. And if so, I'm sorry. But, maybe the guests would be more entertaining than us. Like, I think Wes, he was really entertaining, honestly. So this is the platform to get that out. So we really need to hone in on these guests. And that starts with me. I need to but I think that was a great chat that we had. And to get some people, so we got to utilize that. And if you're watching, you're in that chat, or you want to be in a chat like that, I think maybe we start our own chat where we get a bunch of Packers fans, right, that are fans of the podcast, and just put it out. You have any work you're doing, put it out there. We want to, what do you call it? Promote that kind of stuff and promote engagement around the team. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. I follow this one person who's like very known for social media stuff. She's like kind of a TikTok person or whatever, very social media. I don't know if you know the person, Katie Feeney.
Yes.
You do? Okay, so
she works on the Washington Commanders. And I don't think she's going to come on this show anytime soon.
No. But she also worked for the Penn State Athletics, and tonight she's doing the thon for Penn State from what I saw. Anyway, on Instagram, yesterday she invites me and her fans towards her broadcast channel where only she can none of us can, none of the viewers or fans can comment on stuff. Only she can provide her content right away as soon as it comes out. So it's a kind of a Discord thing where Grassi has is all right, as soon as this video is on, boom, comes right out to you guys, and she can comment and you can do some voting polls. So I know about that's something. I was trying to figure out how to do.
I want more conversation. I mean, she's probably worried just about pushing her stuff out there to get more engagement. But she's obviously got more of a platform, and so no one is interested in us. We're gonna get that engagement. Sorry, that's never gonna happen. But but that's a great example of and that's historically football has been a male sport. It's got to be. But I'm really encouraged by kind of the female engagement around the sport as of recent too, because I think football is an all gender, all race. It's a very diverse sport, right? And that it's important to get perspectives from
different views,
right? We have one perspective, but PackReacts what she said. They won in the Cheesehead Tea or the podcast of the year. I think Aaron Nagel is very pro PackReacts what she said, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but he'd always. I knew once he said the podcast of the year, I was like, oh, it's gonna be PackReacts what she said, and guess what it was? It was so predictable. That's what he was gonna pick. I think they do good work. I'm nothing against what Perry and Meg. I think they do really good work. I just knew that was going to be his selection. There was no guess there. So they could have done terrible work, which I'm not saying they did. I think they do good work, but they could have done terrible work. I just knew he was going to pick them. It's just he's always talking about that podcast, and I think it's an important thing because there's on Game On Wisconsin, there's Green and Gorgeous or something. I've seen it. Those are there's also some other. But there's definitely a lot of. There was that whole Packers thirst trap thing on Twitter. I don't know if you know about that. That's probably not PG for whoever on your family's watching this.
Don't get no.
we won't go on that one.
Moving on from that.
But there's a lot of There's a lot of female engagement around the thing, around the sport, where historically it might not have been, and I think that's important. And I'd love to get. We should try to get some female, guests on here too, because I think that's important for our viewers too. To get that perspective, because I think that's important. We both got into this because our dads and your brother, right? So it was again a male oriented thing. My mom's not a football fan. Is your mom a football fan?
My mom is a huge football fan.
Oh, really? Nice.
So basically, kind of give you a backstory, which I think you guys already know about this, because I'll go off from the Phillies, how I'm a Phillies sports fan from the Phillies. So basically how I became a Philly sports fan, I remember I showed you the video of how I became a Philly sports fan or a sports fan in general, was because of my grandma and my mother. They showed me baseball. They got me to love it. And it kind of became how I would describe with you and your father, me and my father, we have this bond relationship together. That's how I would describe mine with baseball with my grandmother and my mother. And I still talk to them with baseball and
That's awesome.
My mom will she's a whole Philly sports fan.
That's awesome.
Now she doesn't know hockey or basketball that much, but she's a huge Eagles fan. Not a huge Eagles fan as like a normal Eagles fan probably would be, but she's a very passionate Eagles fan. And then she loves the Phillies. She cannot stop talking about the Phillies. So it's like that's like where I always like. I always say this in sports, like it's not always about winning. It's not always about the championships. It's about like make life memories from it.
Exactly. And
that's what I always like to say is like you bond relationships, make the life memories. Like what I would say like for the 2020 season. Let's go for that for example. Were we supposed to win the championship? Yes. Should we have won the game against the Bucks? Yes. But was it a great year to watch football and great time to make memories? Heck yeah, it was.
Exactly. Totally.
That's why I always like look at it. Like I don't look at it as a championship bust season. Like yeah, you can look at that as like from a business analytical perspective, but I'm not looking at that. I'm just a fan. I'm looking at it as like, did I enjoy that this year? Did I have fun watching the team? Yes, I
agree.
did.
I totally agree.
That's where I'm at.
That's a healthy way to look at this. I think that's important.
I always look at the positives, never the negatives. That's what my mother always taught me.
Totally agree. Now with the Packers, though, we do need to focus on it. So we don't want to go the wrong direction. Though. That's the only thing. Like this 4-game winning streak was nice. It was fun in the moment, but like it probably really hurt us. I gotta be honest. So like maybe we gotta like also be able to balance. It's a balance, right?
Yeah.
But like think about the Eagles, right? Like that was a really fun run up to the Super Bowl. Now they didn't win, but they had all the fun and like they don't get the celebration, the parade afterwards. But I'd say this season's a huge win for the Eagles. Now, the thing is, can they sustain it with everyone they're losing? I'm not sure. No. But it was to be seen. But I mean, it was a big win for the Eagles. They have Jalen Hurts come in, play this well. Make some big acquisitions in AJ Brown and just really put out a great team this year. I think that's really a great win for the Eagles franchise. Yeah. They didn't get it done at the end, but they had a great season. For the Packers, they didn't even make the playoffs. That's my like you got to make the playoffs. You got to win a game in order for me to like really be happy with the season, at least. And when you make the playoffs and win over and over again and then lose before you get to the Super Bowl, that's a killer. But I think we're definitely had more excitement than like a Jets fan has, so we can't complain too much.
Or Bears.
Right, exactly. But ultimately, what matters, I think, to the fans is the relationships you build personally, but you're not going to make, you're not going to have a relationship with the quarterback, with the coach. That's just unrealistic. So it's relationships with the common folk, the viewers, really anybody that else is doing podcasts. And really at the end of the day, it's just the common folk, that, maybe have a few friends in like, the media or whatever. And that's it. Just a really conversation at the end of the day. And what are they doing in the team itself? Just making money doing the same thing. They're much more talented and athletic than we are, but they're really just people at the end of the day. So it's about conversation and it's about having fun, but it's also about winning and making sure it's a business at the end of the day too. So you got to make sure you're making decisions that are going to help this team and help this fan base succeed in the long run.
Exactly. Now let me ask you this question: what are the Packers known for? What's the owners? Is it
the people? I think, and that's why I think this is a sweet spot. And I love She Said TV and some of these other, but they've never really focused on the people. And I think this is something that really is a great aspect. Now not everyone might be ready for be on TV or whatever on the screen. Yeah. But like I never done something before this. You just kind of come on and just talk. That's really all it is. And, if people are bored, that's their problem. All you can do is make yourself happy. That's it. And if people are interested, that's great. Like, look at Packers Digital ad. Apparently he's watching us and he's enjoying the show. Well, that's great to hear. And if maybe there's another person who's watching and says, these guys suck, I don't want to watch them. All right, well, then good luck finding something else to do with your life. I can't control everything else. Exactly. So it's either you like the show and you do. If you don't, then cool. Sorry to hear that. Right. Like, that's all I can say. I don't know if people watch the show. If they are, that's great. You're the one that looks at the statistics. I don't even have access to any of that stuff. So you're going to have to keep me updated with the statistics. I am curious. Well,
what I usually I look at like how many live we have right now, and that's 0 currently. Just for
me.
But I don't care. Anyway, like when I look at the views, like after, it's like over 30 views, and the most I think we ever had. Do you want to know what the most PackReacts episode was?
Honestly, I don't keep up with it, date with it. So
it was a recent one.
Was it the West one?
No,
Big B?
No,
It was just a random episode.
it was somebody we had on.
Oh,
We had somebody on. We mentioned him on this. We mentioned him.
Carson.
Yes,
It was that one, really?
that had over 90 views.
Really? Huh.
Exactly. That's what I'm
Oh.
saying. I'm saying like I would have thought less, but hey, like we're averaging close to like 25 views a video. And I'll take that. I don't care.
Some of them are probably me, some of them are probably you, but it's all right. Look, this is the thing. You have to have fun doing it, and then over time, maybe you'll get more views, maybe not. I don't care. No one's ever going to get rich off this thing, So unless you're Tom Grossi, but he's, he's much more talented than anybody is. He's a real comedian, And I think that's what really draws people to him is the humor there.
Yes.
I'm not going to win any comedy awards anytime soon.
Yeah.
Maybe you will, Jeremy. I don't want to say you won't.
I don't think comedy, but I'll win probably something.
Yeah,
I'll
probably win something. But he's definitely he was doing comedy before he did that. He just found his sweet spot in the NFL. And no one was really doing it, NFL comedy on YouTube. Yeah. Tom Grossi. When did you start watching Tom Grossi?
So when I watched Tom Grossi, I won't forget this. It was draft day. It was the day Jair Alexander got drafted. Because that was the year I was kind of like a little bit hyped to this team, even though we didn't do well. It was like going into that draft, and I was like, okay, Packers can do something fun. I'll be happy with it. And then all of a sudden, he's like, I don't want Jair Alexander. I don't want CB. I want Derwin James. I want
Derwin too, yeah.
And I remember I was like, and I'm watching this, and then I see it happen. I'm like, and then I love his reaction. I was like, what the heck did they just do? What are you doing, Packers? He was like, no. And that just made me love him. And I just I rewatch it once in a while. I've seen it again just to make memories. But then after that, it's fun to watch him. I've been on his. I remember I forget what one of his videos. I was on one of his videos for like a hot second because it was I think it's when he had his first 100 subs, 100,000 subscribers. And I was on there wearing my Tom Grossi shirts, and it said, and it was yeah. So I was on there. So yeah, but
yeah, I'm actually I wish I took a screenshot of what my number follower was. But I was probably in the top 1,000, I would say, probably, and not the top 500. Because I remember I was a long time user of the Reddit, the Packers Reddit. I mean, this goes back to probably almost the beginning of it, because I like Reddit. I think it's a great website. It's a great website just to learn and talk to people, about different topics. But I've only used really the Packers Reddit. Other things maybe, but like news and stuff. But the Packers Reddit is really kind of my sweet spot. And he was back there with a magic pupper. Did you see that? Like back when the Packers were in the yes. I think the run the table year actually.
Yes,
I think that so he would put his dog on there or whatever all the time. And then I followed him one day to I think his YouTube channel. And he was doing this was back in the day with PackReacts. This was the first season. And then he was doing a Game of Thrones one. I was a Game of Thrones fan, so I was watching that too. So I was this guy's pretty interesting. I didn't know what it was going to become. I was like, this guy's fun. And that's really all it was. And then it kept going. I knew about Nagler for Cheesehead TV, but I always thought he was a little bit a little bit out there. But then I started watching him too. Actually, no, this guy's really good. And then I started listening to Pack a Day. And I like Andy Herman. And really my favorite Packers podcaster is Dusty Evely. I really think because that's the one thing I like to learn, and I like to learn about football as well. And I think he really does a great job of kind of explaining the X and O side of it and the football side. And I got to be honest, I've stopped listening to the Pack a Day, the podcast version, quite a bit because I just with COVID I stopped having to commute and I kind of stopped. But I got to watch his episodes at the very least, because he really brings a great perspective. And I'd love to have him on. I should reach out to him and see if he'd like to join the podcast, because I really like to pick his brain a little bit, because he just, for a common folk guy, he's never really had no background in football. He kind of self-taught guy. He really knows a lot,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a fun business, just doing for fun. So I started as hobbies for my channel, and look where I'm at now.
I would not be here if it wasn't for you, Jeremy. So You know, I mean, this is your career though. This is what you want to be doing for the rest of your life. You know, so this is a great. I mean, think about the differentiator this is going to be to compare to someone like, yeah, I want to do sports. Okay, well, what have you done? Oh, I've watched a lot of sports. Okay, like think about this. You could go say, hey, I have a channel. You know, we have a podcast. We go YouTube live. We have a conversation. You know, I've done these spin-off kind of, I mean, like one-off scripted series with like this GOAT series or some other things. You know, maybe you'll start writing one day if that's what you're interested in. I don't know. You're more going for like the content side than the writing side, right?
Yeah, I'm not. I wrote stories. I'm not a huge like fan of writing because it's just not my thing. I'm more of a content guy. Like I'm more of a filmer guy.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, have you had an opportunity or brought up to? Is there like so your college? Is there your college like athletics like Instagram page or whatever? Or
Yeah.
is there any way you could get a part of that?
I'm part of the tennis page for my team.
Okay. So you
But I don't do much in that. I just like give it. I just assist her give ideas how to my teammates, and then she puts out like the whole she puts out the content. Like,
so there's a girl that works there that runs it, or it's somebody on your team?
Somebody on my team, but then we have our assistant coach, is like the head person. So it's like it's usually run by this like the senior captains of our team, but we usually have like an assistant, like kind of like he's kind of like there just to be like make sure everything's going well. But then we have our athletic director, which you have to run the rules by him and make sure everything. Because I went through him, then went through the sport media guy who like always does all the sports for York, and I had the email through, and then basically found out that it was my assistant coach that set up the account like many years ago. Because I was asking like, can we do a boys tennis team account? And he was like, no, it's probably better if we just do both. Just I was like, okay, just putting it out there as an idea just to see what you guys thought. But yeah.
Do you travel with the team?
No, not
so
really.
Who do you play against? There's other colleges in the area.
So I don't travel because I don't start for the team. But the other people who do start, they travel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah,
do you play in matches?
Yeah, they play matches. I don't play in matches.
If you don't play in matches, you don't start? Is that why?
Yeah.
So you're kind of like a walk-on kind of effectively?
Pretty much a bench player is what I like to say. And you don't like in high school, it's more fun because it's like if you're on the bench for varsity and you get to play though. That's the difference between like D3 and in high school. Like D3 for us, who if you're not starting, you're not playing, and if it's especially a home match, you're just watching to support your teammates.
Oh, okay. So you think probably like in the next few years you'll get to play, or it depends on kind of just
depends on how the dice rolls.
Right.
Depends on how the dice rolls and see where I'm at. Right. Where of the seniors, the freshmen, and yeah.
Right. All right. Well, good luck with that. But yeah, I mean that's fun. I'm pretty good at tennis. One day we gotta play tennis. You know, well, you know, if we ever go back to Bethany, you know, I would get one of those. What do you call it? I'll take you on.
I'd probably destroy you.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Jeremy. All right, look, I wasn't on a team, but I'm actually pretty good. I run around quite a bit.
You can go look at my records of how well I've done before.
Yeah, you might have won, but you're not. I'm not going to take any less than your best. So you know, we'll see how it goes. I might get a few points in there, or maybe even beat you. We'll see what happens.
Maybe a game, and that's not.
Maybe we'll live stream it for the fans.
I think I would because one. I practice with my best teammates that probably would go. They probably could play D1 like a low school, and especially how I've gone so much better my skill wise compared to like how I actually played. Huge difference there, and also my serve. I do like a slam dunk.
I see. My serve's not that great. I'll be honest.
That's the problem right there.
Yeah,
so
that's probably the problem.
That's where.
But I can run around. Try good luck trying to get one on me. I'll be going all over the field or over the court. Yeah, the serve, I just kind of, just got to get it.
Oh, you do the live pop. That's what I do my second serves. I do that just because I'm like, I don't trust myself, like, of doing the first serve. I just trust myself. All right, I don't want to mess up. I just want to get in and play it to see how it goes. So
that's right. I just got to get in and play.
I pop it in, and, like, people tell me not to do it, and somehow it works for me. I don't know how. It just works. I'm like, I'm just going to keep doing it. If it works for me, keep doing it.
Yeah, so I just make sure I get it in play, and then after that I try. But I have tried to do the full serve, and it's just inconsistent. And like, I don't want to ruin my turn. Getting it, never getting the serve in. So
I don't follow the traditional serve. I don't do it that way.
go like that.
So I go like I toss it up. I go like how you're slam dunking a basketball.
Yeah.
I do that. So I go like you're reaching your arm out, if you can see this, and I go like boom. So I go like, and it goes fast, and very few people can barely get a return, and it works. My problem is the consistency, but it's pretty good when I do it.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get a game going one day, and we'll definitely live stream it for the viewers, or maybe not, depending on if we can get it going. So,
yeah.
All right, I just hit the 2-hour mark. I did not think I was supposed to go 20 minutes. It went 2 hours. That's definitely our longest video episode ever. We didn't have anything to talk about, so that's
All right.
Hopefully, people are interested.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap it up here. Where can we find each other, Mike? Go.
Not many places right now. I've just been kind of bombarded with work recently, and I just took a break here to join the show. So not many places, but no, on Twitter, Arvo15 or the PackReacts podcast. Instagram, the Titletown memes. I did like 0 memes this year, so sorry I did one actually with the Mike Pereira one. But that didn't go on Titletown memes anyway, so that account's kind of a dead account. But I'm gonna keep saying it anyway because I think it's a nice account and I should probably pick it up at some point. So, and then who knows? Maybe you'll see me on doing some scripted episodes on here. I would like to do it once the work comes down. Do something. I think they'll be interesting. Venture out and having my own project other than just BSing on this thing all day. So,
yeah. All right. Well, folks, you know where to find me. We're on my channel right now, so I need 5 more subs, and I get to 230 subscribers. So do that if you haven't subbed already. Go to series wise. Last week I was trying to do it, but then school came up. I had to study for a huge exam, and audio was not working, so I kind of restart the whole video. So tomorrow I will try and get a video out, or this weekend, because I'm working on Lawn Snappers just because of Wes. If you're listening to this, it's because of you. Give a shout out to you. And then I'm working on kickers. So hopefully to have one of those out. And then on my other channel for baseball, basketball, hockey, I'm going to be doing some Phillies work too, just because spring training is coming around. So I got that. And the future for PackReacts, we are going to be definitely doing a trivia. We're definitely doing trivia for Packers trivia or NFL trivia in general. Yeah. That's what I like to have. I like to have that. So, yeah.
Keep trying to expand my background here, but really like this painting here.
I feel like
hopefully the viewers like it.
I feel like that should be a PackReacts trivia question. That should literally just be like the first question is like, what is that painting about in the background of Mike?
Well, I think that's pretty clear. But it's actually it's an artist. Like I looked up the artist who did it. It's like a lady in like upstate New York or whatever that she does dogs or like animals, like domesticated animals, and like doing human things. Like this one's obviously like dogs playing football. So I like this one a lot because it goes go with the show, and I just real big fan of dogs and everything. But like there's other ones, is like a duck like at a beach or something, and there's like it's not domesticated, it's any type of animal. So it's like I don't know. There's a bunch of interesting stuff. So shout out to that artist. I think she does a lot of interesting stuff, but I really like this one. So. Big fan.
All right, folks. That will do another episode of PackReacts. Hopefully we'll be here next week. We'll be talking more Packer stuff and hopefully see where Aaron Rodgers comes out of his retreat. Mike was on his retreat, if you did not see earlier.
Should I go back in to end the show?
Sure, why not? You can just end it. So Mike's gonna go back into his retreat because it's like he's acting like he's a bear. He came out of hibernation and now he's going right back to hibernation. That's what he is, and that I can still see the screen, Mike.
I don't know. 1 second.
So we'll end it here with Mike going back into the cave. So Mike is back in. Oh no, he had it.
1 second.
So
hold on. What happened to my thing?
No, we got like.
I need to bring up a black screen on Google. 1 second.
So Mike's gonna go back in the retreat, folks. He's gonna go back to retreat of his Aaron Rodgers and see what happens.
Oh, 1 second. Sorry, guys.
So yeah,
this is riveting content. I can't get to the one I was at.
Rip. Well,
This ruined it.
hey, okay. So, folks, that will do another episode since Mike couldn't get back into the cave. He's still.
I'm basically in a cave.
He's basically in a cave. All right.
All right. That's it. All right.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yep. Go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.